well as MadBulls. You know, a little bit of a rivalry going on here from Western Europe. We are now heading over towards Erangel to start our day off.
Certainly are. We're going to be seeing how these regions all start to stack up against each other for the first time in quite a long time at this scale, Blank. I mean, we had PMWI earlier this year, which drew from a couple of the region pools, but this really is the culmination where it is the metal to be tested for each of the front runners from each of those regions. So they're coming into this one to break new ground. Plane path starting up northwest, heading down towards the Sosnovka military base. It's a kind plane path to start things off.
Yeah, very easy. Most of this western side of the map will be open here. Obviously, eastern side should be easy enough to get to with school, apartments, Pachinki in the way here. Lots of vehicles in that area to pick up and head over towards maybe Yans, Prison, Lipovka, maybe even down towards Milta, but we'll have to wait and see should that happen. Novo, obviously, as well as Sosnovka, is open to real soldiers. One of the teams does head here very, very often throughout most tournaments, already heading on over towards this position on the map. I mean, with this plane path as well, they should have a fairly clear idea that the eastern bridge should be open. This will require them to loot a little bit quicker though, and then estimate where this first circle will be hitting, John.
Hasn't hit just yet, but it will be only a matter of time on the west coast. Looks like it's going to be fairly empty. The Gatka split there. Circle heavy south. Could it be a first circle military on the first game? That'd be kind of crazy. I feel like we might be in for it.
I mean, I'd love to see it. I mean, it'd be a great way to start off PMGC. Obviously, you can go follow all our social channels to make sure you keep up to date because we do have more groups in the future going from week 2 to week 3. Obviously, a lot of you guys most likely would like to be tuning in for Group Green, which is one hell of a group to watch. But Group Red's still got it in them. Effect, though, drops out the vehicle, doesn't have anything to work with, and Chicken will move off from emTek Storm. And take potentially some shots. AKM, one of a hell of a weapon to make it happen, but Skills has got one of his own. Sends back bullets, and that is Chicken packing.
He's going to be sent right on to the butchers there. Monkey rolls up, Effect, dropped off. See you later after school, son. Tell me how you got on. Got a point, mum. Oh, fantastic.
That'll do. First point of the tournament as well. So PMGC kicking off with a bang, and I mean, me and you are big fans of MadBulls anyway, considering we commentated them for quite some time there, going from PMPL Western Europe all the way through to the championships itself, in which they took that championship home. Obviously, it was not as easy of a road as it was for them in Western Europe, but they certainly pulled out all the stops towards the end there. I8 over on this side of Military Island will be looking to keep themselves well situated down there.
Yeah, as you were saying, MadBulls third place in their region, right, which isn't really indicative of their performance in their earlier regional stages, but that is how it goes, obviously being beaten out by HVVP and Fireflux, but they are the top representative from the region in this group, so that's why we're looking.
It was certainly one hell of a crazy tournament as well, John, in that championship, with HVVP taking home all the prize pool, all the money, and all the glory as well. But I think that definitely was a HVVP style, right? You know, in those short form tournaments, they can certainly bring out the fire that they need to. And unfortunately with MadBulls, although they're a very consistent team, very good over long form tournaments, I think HVP just really had that extra oomph in them to send them all the way. Plus, there being a lot on the line for HVP to make it through to the PMGC. For MadBulls, this felt more or less like a cruise for them, which is okay. Absolutely fine. They'll take it. This was their one chance of getting to PMGC, and they're through now, so happy days.
Speaking of cruising, S2G. Right, this is a team that you would expect, oh, hang on a minute, I'll put that on hold, crash over on the Western Bridge. Blank, a rundown as well, as S2G are caught in this conflict. Hamzy the only one to go down so far, and it looks like they might be able to pick this one back up as well. Silas low, but not out of it just yet. Kelsey looks for the flushes. S2G, it looks like, hey, Blank, look at this. It's Europe coming in strong at the start of PMGC, the European region. Obviously, S2G coming through from the Turkish region, and then qualifying not through, this was my point I was going to make, not through the European Championships. They qualified through PMGC points. They didn't make the cut into the top, well, it would have been top 3 or top 4 if they'd have made it there, but they were down in 6th in their region. So this is a team that is maybe got a little bit more to prove. So it's good to see them taking confident fights, crossing that bridge.
Yeah, I think that Honestly, that kind of fight is more or less indicative of how S2G plays. They're extremely aggressive team. If they want position, they'll take it from you. They'll wrestle it from your hands. That's absolutely fine. I like that about S2G. It's one of my favorite things about them is that they are very decisive when it comes to those plays, and they're not afraid to get stuck in to those engagements. I mean, to be honest with you, getting those eliminations, getting those knocks right off the bat of that match, unbelievable stuff, John. So fast that came out. That is just S2G to a T. And I think now they've got themselves a pretty damn good little hold on Sosnovka at the moment with that sudden shift like you were talking about before, John. You know, we'd still have Shelter Farm, Milter in this one, but this is looking very much like it would be heading down towards Sosnovka. So a very cool way to start off our game today.
We're on board with the hardest name for my tongue to pronounce, Buriram. There we go. I'm sure I've already messed it up. We're hopping away from them though, so I'm saved that embarrassment, Blaine.
You are saved that embarrassment. And to be honest with you, I'm not even going to try yet. When it comes round to it, then I will give it a go. But for the time being, I'm going to be staying over here with the Four Rivals guy, with Pemburu. Definitely gave me some trouble back in the day. But
do they drop in Cobraria? So it's Buriram in Cobraria. That would be the hardest.
Yeah,
the hardest.
I mean, you've done it now though, so you're fine.
That's true.
There.
I've one down. However many more to go.
Yeah.
I have to double check the drop spots on Miramar.
Woo! That would be a fun time, indeed. Nigma Galaxy now making their way over towards that western side of the bridge towards Sosnovka. Obviously, S2G already punched a hole through that barricade that i8 set up earlier on. i8 not out just yet, but down to that singular player so far. Don't quite have our elimination totals on the side of the screen just yet, but I'm sure we'll find out exactly how many points each of those players did get when we head over towards them. Indeed, so that's 3 eliminations so far on i8's side, able to get that final flush and knock over towards i8. I assume that maybe he's able to crawl away and maybe a different team picked up that last elimination, but it will be S2G taking all the points from that engagement.
A really good start. They move into a southern position, a southwest position on the military island. It seems like currently 5 teams have hedged their bets. Well, not even hedged. They've made their bet on that military island finish. Heading down south, that's Nigma Galaxy, S2G, Box, DRS, and of course i8, who are a little bit diminished on that south.
Slightly. I think diminished is a bit of an understatement there, John, honestly.
Decimated? Let's go with that.
Decimated, yeah, that's a much better way of putting it, 100%. I mean, S2G kind of cleaned house on that side of the map. DRS, though, these guys like to drop around over Abnoya. They've already got themselves a bit of a foothold over towards that western side of the observatory in that area. It's a nice position to hold. Great scouting position for them as well. And luckily, they didn't even have to think about heading over towards that eastern bridge. So this has worked out fantastically for them. Sosnovka, one of those positions that can really benefit you, but it does require the circle to head down here frequently. You do get a lot of loot on board. It is super valuable in terms of getting like level 3s and good amount of equipment. You get a long time to loot down here as well, but it does require you to make that crossing, which is always a bit of a tricky maneuver, John. But for DRS, nothing too bad happening for them here. And that's your circle. Down towards Sosnovka, confirmed, slapped in, punched the number, and we're heading on down. So all these teams over towards that north side will have to get a move on.
That is probably the kindest possible circle that could have happened in this current scenario, because it means that teams know the choice they have to make. And I feel like that's often where teams come unstuck in their macro decisions when it's sort of got, a quarter of the circle on the mainland, or it's got a 30% probability of not actually going fully there. No, it's 100% committed to the island now, Black. So teams are going to have to figure out how to cross.
Yeah, it's a pretty nasty hard shift as well down this way. You would have thought that maybe there'd be more time for these teams if it would overlap with the farm, as well as maybe shark fin and some of those compounds on the yellows on the northern coast. But no, it's straight down towards Sosnovka, which means a lot of these teams don't have a lot of time to think about making these maneuvers. And with it cutting off so much of the bridge as well, well, you would usually see a lot of teams like hanging around towards Lighthouse or towards the gas station before finally making their cross, waiting for the opportune moment. And if you could get control of Lighthouse or even gas station, you can let these teams cross first and wait until there was that opportunity to present itself. Here, there really isn't that. It's just a mad dash through. MadBulls punch their way through LGD as well as emTek and move straight down towards where S2G moved in on the western bridge there, John.
Titan skirting around the edge there. All four of them are alive, but they're a little bit split right now with Influence Chemin in the mid. Will be moving up to Buriram. I don't think they're aware of this position. Will get jumped out on and immediately tumbles out, but hops out of the vehicle, goes for the challenge. Unfortunately, wasn't quite quick enough on the uptake. Two players, though, in for the backup. Going to roll on over the top of the hill. They divert. They're not going to go in for the challenge. Not going to be able to get their teammate back up, but they're crashing straight into Queso. It's not great for Titan, but he does get felled here. There's three players alive. Tiger rolling on in, trying to back up the teammate on the inside, but Queso not so lucky, down already. Molotov into the back, forcing them up to the wall, reposition. You don't need to commit here, you have the bridge.
Honestly, it was really important they got that knock over towards Queso. As soon as they saw three players over that western side, they assumed there would be a backstop, and quickly eliminating that player and taking him down. Perfect maneuver from Buriram. Now they just need to make their way through, which is a little bit easier said than done here. LGD off of the distance. Team Queso as well, losing a couple of players here. Papi Potro's still up, but Ayala down on that off angle. Little bit tricky for him going forward. There is only a few teams down towards Sosnovka at the moment, and it just is this massive engagement that's currently occurring on this western side, just to the south of Pachinki. You can see R8's here, LGD, emTek, as well as Team Queso. Goodness me, it is all guns are blazing over on this side. Get another hard shift down towards the south, so we're looking over towards that south coast, as well as the airstrip that's running through the middle of military. So, those fences, although it doesn't provide you a huge amount of cover, it'll still be useful here.
There's one down on the cross. We'll be able to stop that. Oh,
damn!
Broad short. It's a bridge down for Team Queso. Successful. Really solid stuff from Team Queso, guarding out perfectly on that side of the map. Really nice result on the western edge for the North American team.
I mean, this is great news as well. And I mean, you can see there in the player cams, the players are on site right now. So we're having none of these issues that might come to play with internet, perhaps, that do get resolved fairly quickly usually. But you get those off games, but everyone's playing on a level playing field now, which is amazing to see. And those types of plays are much more prevalent in this type of format, type of setting where you're on land, where, Reyes can just quickly pull out the M4 and go for an instant headshot as someone's approaching him. What a good play. Unfortunately, Team Queso is still falling by the wayside. They will pick up 3 eliminations for that. You can see that on the right side of your screen. We are starting to get our eliminations start to pop up here. S2G still with the most amount of players and the most amount of eliminations. R8 with 1 elimination, still trying to get their way through on that western side outside of the blue currently.
The Infinity putting one of Titan down. Teak eliminated there. Puncher as well was taken down by Luxy, and that's going to be the entirety of Titan toppled, as they are going to have to go down 15th place. Not a great start, but someone has to do it.
It is what just happens in these cases. BTR still currently out in the blue. The Infinity moving past Influence Chemin. Influence Chemin taking home a very, very dominant victory over in the Americas Championship. Honestly, one of my new favorite teams, honestly. As a team, they are very good. And in Americas, you don't see this very often, but there is some massive tactical maneuvers coming through from Influence Chemin very, very frequently from them, which is great to see. I think taking 2-2 splits. And overall, I would say the level of Americas has improved vastly over the last year. So this is no longer being in PMGC, just the SEA show. We're having some big contenders coming through from Western Europe, big contenders coming through from Americas, and SEA, a lot of these regions are starting to catch up in a big way.
Bigetron on the outside now. DRS first. The revitalized Bigetron, hopefully looking to return to power. 2 players from DRS taken down, the real soul. With Influence Chemin on their south. Oh, Beg your pardon. Don't have too much further to go for this next circle, so I have to push through this fight. DRS currently successfully holding. The Bigetron looking to try and move through. Chianti looks for one on the spray. It's good, but it is traded off. Bigetron are going to hold on to it for now, but they are flagging. 2 players down. Luxy moves forwards to try and back up Misery. Jen Foster down and out in the, not out in the blue, but certainly down. Luxy finds the last, but in comes Influence. Chemin to play spoiler. A third-party engagement spoils Bigetron here. Misery runs for the hills.
Yeah, very, very difficult game plan there for BTR overall. Zuxi and Luxy, I think, both did a marvelous job taking down a lot of those players from DRS. Unfortunately, does not come to pass there. Influence Chemin also making their way in. BTR sometimes has struggled coming in from the blue, but this is the first time in a long time, at least in PMGC, we've seen such a dominant push in towards it versus the team that's holding out players inside the blue. So I don't think this is a complete failure coming through from BTR. I think this is unlucky with Influence Chemin also rocking up onto this as a third party. If it wasn't for them, that could have been a successful push through into the blue from them. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So watching some of these teams start to make it themselves. Tiger moves up. Misery's got no HP on board, and it would be surprising if he gets through this one.
It's unfortunate he didn't manage to get that spray onto Tiger. It felt like it was dead to right, but not to be. So, Buriram with the north side of the circle under their control. Influence Chemin can start to push in from the east. Currently 3 teams occupy inside the airfield around those wrecked planes on the inside that are currently in the next circle. That's S2G, Box, as well as 4 rivals. You can have the MadBulls and R8 pushing in from the western side.
MadBulls playing on the out. I mean, this is very classic MadBulls behavior, taking opportunities where they can see them, find a position to play in. If it's just a little bit of a ditch or a couple of these crates to play around, that's enough for MadBulls to make something happen. R8 move in. MadBulls should have oversight on this, and Prestige tries to get a little bit further.
Hamodi backs him off the crate, claims it for Nigma Galaxy. MadBulls continue to hold next to this missile. The blue zone starting to move in. The next shift will, of course, force those engagements a little bit further. 12 teams remain, 38 players at this stage. With Hamodi going down next to the crate, they will need to invest some to get that res, but it will be a hot spot in a very open area.
Skills is taking a lot of damage. That's coming through from S2G. They're over on the other side of the road, just opposite the guys from MadBulls. Might be a little bit dangerous to go for skills as immediately, but S2G won't be moving from their position either, afraid that they'll get picked up by some of these players looking around. This is a great spot. It's one of those areas that becomes a little bit more difficult when you have to leave it, as most teams will look your way, and you're basically running out into open area. Currently, MadBulls still have options with vehicles parked up. Similarly to S2G, this will be kind of just one of those razzes out. But for MadBulls, it's a little bit more panic mode, getting players back up on their feet, requiring to use more smokes in their position to isolate some of these angles, and they're praying for this next shift to come over towards them on the western side.
There's the shift northeast, unfortunately. A little bit away, covering a lot of circle. So it's not too far, but it's not ideal, certainly not. Buriram splitting a little bit to give themselves a forward outpost for the time being, seeing what they can leverage from there. MadBulls will have to move as well.
It's a little bit rough, but like you said, not too bad, especially with the circle being this big. It does give opportunity for these teams to slowly eke their way in, as opposed to having to make a massive trek across. I think for MadBulls, things do become slightly more difficult because they don't have the option that S2G have, which is to instantly send up towards that northern side and cross through Buriram and maybe Team Queso. 4 rivals will be a bit of an obstacle in their path on that side, but for MadBulls, there's a lot of teams watching them as they make this exit. And Nigma Galaxy is certainly one of those teams that will be looking their way, looking to cause them troubles. If they can maintain control over this western edge of the circle, should be okay. Hamodi spots 1 at least. You can see the rest of the players going slightly low, dropping out the vehicle. Explosion will take down 1, and now MadBulls have to restabilize.
Silas is right there as well, and S2G looking to regroup on the position, taking shots over towards pretty much everyone. Box under pressure from it. Kelsey rolls up, knocked back. Razy up to the silo as well, swings out left, but there's a car coming in as well. Hamzy draws the attention away, pulls that thread, and unravels Box's hold.
if there had not been an explosion on that vehicle for MadBulls, this is a potential third party for them. And right now, they're trying to get back up on their feet as quickly as possible. Silas remaining on the fence edge is a great play from him. I mean, isolating himself from the rest of his team, but enabling them to actually have some kind of defense if a third party does come through is a fantastic way of playing out this game. LGD tossing nades over towards R8, a little bit short here, but dangerously close at this point, John.
Oh, only Prestige up. Will be trying to stick that res, and SK-Ton back up and fighting. Influence Chemin, pretty close to Buriram, but they're on the eastern side. They have some hill cover. Playing on the forest path. We'll have to shunt a little bit further forwards in the coming minutes, but they can hold out for now.
S2G really killing it on this game, honestly. Even from the beginning where it was just that massive shunt through I-8, really S2G shouldn't be this far into the game if it wasn't for the fact that they were so aggressive on that push on towards the Western Bridge. They have placed themselves directly in contention for a chance at this chicken dinner when playing very much far away from Sosnovka. So overall, very well done to S2G so far, and they continue to take these aggressive engagements to give them position on the map. It is Zerich, however, who does find an initial knock over towards Silas. Kelsey might want to step up, but Zerich tries to stand back just a little bit.
S2G have their sights set, but it's getting harder and harder by the minute. MadBulls have been surviving, but how much longer can they last? 4 rivals with a solid spot in the north, fairly uncontested, take 3 shots over towards S2G and do a lot of damage, but they aren't out of it just yet. S2G can look for these reses, can bloom these smokes, try and hold the cover. Samzi and Razy crawl for any sort of safety that they can see. Their circle pops in just a little bit, quite close to them. They have to move.
I think when you look at this, for Nigma Galaxy, they were having a great handhold into this fight. MadBulls safe because they don't have the angles towards them. So Nigma Galaxy instead just focus over towards S2G. And then again, it's 4 rivals who get involved. I think S2G maybe put a little bit too much stock into this engagement between them and MadBulls. Ralph moves down through the smoke there and quickly and easily picks up at least 1 elimination over towards MadBulls, leaving them with just 2 members. Kelsey, who's got one hell of an aim on him. You know, he's a cracker in terms of a shot. So he's taking shots up towards the guys from Nigma Galaxy, trying to hold them back. But this is too much for S2G.
Ramsey down before he can cross to the buggy and get cover. Nigma Galaxy with the crossfire. Only Kelsey now standing and taking a lot of damage from the blue zone in the meantime as well. Nade in hand, but what's that going to do? You will fall, and S2G eliminated on the western side. A good start to their game, playing punchy through the western bridge, but failed here.
And I mean, this is classic S2G behavior though, isn't it? It's like very aggressive gameplay, some fantastic fights, but then getting yourself into a position where you have poked too many of the Hornets' nests, in which case you are finally taken down. Ooh. MVM, what an A coming through from Nigma Galaxy. Currently at 8 eliminations. You know, Sandstorm was worried about them not being able to get too many points over on Sandhawk, but looks like they're absolutely fine. Being able to scrim, practice, get their aim back up to speed, and team fights and engagements seem to be going well for them.
Battle for the south side between them and Influence Chemin right now. Seemingly swept everyone else aside. Freak down, not being invested in to get back up. As it looks like Law is rolling forward. Modi backed off the ridgeline, in fact taken down by Federal. Influence Chemin looking good to start their control campaign on this south edge. Not too many other teams left in it as well, Blank. There's only 5, 4 rivals on the north. Buriram still going on the northeast side, and MadBulls have stayed alive.
Yeah, unfortunately it was for Skills as they're just a little bit too far forward. Nigma Galaxy able to get a hold of them. Luckily for them though, now they have information. Influence Chemin coming in hot though over towards Nigma Galaxy. 4 players still up, and Influence Chemin probably rivaling aggressive nature as well as team fighting potential to a team like S2G. They're a little bit more sparse about it. They like to take their moments, but when they do, you certainly know about it.
They roll straight on over Nigma Galaxy's area there. Nothing doing. Only Lord remains now for Nigma Galaxy, close to the MadBulls outpost with the 2 of them. 4 rivals, all 4 of them start to move a little bit further south. You can see them getting up to that wall line. Lord, under pressure from the nades, will burn to Federal, and 8 eliminations now for Oh, that was for Nigma Galaxy. Influence Chemin still on 7. So still a lot of points being scored on this south edge.
Yeah, Nigma Galaxy still did a very good job there, and a surprisingly good job as well. I've got to congratulate them. I think it looks like they have been putting in the work between last PMGC and now. Even their performances towards their PMPLs have been pretty decent, despite not having to play as many Sandhogs, and they're working their way around that. 4Rivals still have this really good spot right now, and they've been reluctant to leave it, and I think that's the correct decision. You have this strong spot where you have sightlines towards everyone. It looks like Buriram just has no idea where they're being shot from. Unfortunately, he has the fancy feet, so he is tap dancing his way out of the way of a lot of those shots.
Voki not quite able to land the damage they were looking for. 4Rivals are going to have to leave the stronghold they've had for so long and into the sightlines of Influence Chemin. It's a difficult move.
It is a difficult move. For MadBulls, though, this is about survival, right? This is about getting those points on board, and it's what they were so very well known for over in their league stage in Western Europe, is just not having many or any bad games. Now they're going to start to move their way through, but completely out in the open. It will be Pemburu spotting that one. Zerek down next, and that will be MadBulls eliminated 4th place. Still, they're able to get some points on board. Currently, this is 4Rivals putting in the work.
This is their last shout, though. They do have their big move to make. Happy up on the wall, and they actually get across. Influence Chemin caught slipping just a little bit there. Those smokes up on the hill, cutting off sightlines beautifully, and actually helping 4Rivals spectacularly well. Up towards the hill now, they're taking a fight up the top, and Buriram going to chime into it as well. Unfortunately, on the favor of Influence Chemin. Nades downhill. A little bit trickier to hit.
Yeah, it's a fantastic move there from Buriram, actually getting into position underneath on the fence to eliminate that rotation, that crossing from 4Rivals. So they've been hampered, slowed down just a little bit. Wading through these two teams. Kayovski, nade in hand. 5 nades available for him. Cooks that one just a little bit too long, but again, it's difficult to estimate these shots here for Influence Chemin. They don't want to cook them too little, so they roll down the hill and away from 4Rivals, but cook them too long and they explode a little bit too early here, John. That one's good, though.
That was right on the money there, finding the first. If anyone could cook them right, it's the players here at the PMGC around the wall, backed off by the mark.
4Rivals ever aware that, you know, this is a free team finish, so if they can find some of these players from Buriram, getting a 2nd place for the amount of eliminations they've got and holding a strong position, Influence Chemin is unlikely to be able to be dismounted from this high ground spot here, John. So 4Rivals putting a lot of stock over towards the final players from Buriram. Influence Chemin, though, massive chokehold down towards both these teams.
This is definitely Influence Chemin's game to lose, right? This is all 4 of them alive, top of the hill, sightlines galore. There's nothing really that they don't have in hand right now. Neither of the other 2 teams have any position in the next circle, and they have to make a bold push, taking more of Buriram down. 4Rivals, the thing that they do have going for them, Blank, is they're all alive.
I mean, for 4Rivals, they've done really good here. And again, this is why I talked about them at the beginning of the game. It's a team that I'd like to do well. You know, they have some great experience. They're consistently here. I think they've added some very, very good players to the team. They've just needed somewhere to prove this for themselves. Appy had to hold down here off against some of these other teams. Makes the crossing and stands up, and it would have been unbelievable if he had lived through that one. Now 4Rivals have to make something happen from underneath, but how many nades they have to make it work?
Shots downhill, have the Groza to deal with as well. The Cooks on the nades, not quite finding the money. Surviving for 4Rivals. That lip keeping them safe. Information gathered. 3 teams still going. The next circle will close completely. Influence Chemin, the Brazilian team holding up the top of the hill. They've got 4Rivals dead to rights, but it's just a matter of closing it out. And it seems like they're a little bit faltering in their approach to this. I mean, they are just continuing to put down the nades, and when you have this ordnance, when you know that there's so few threats left, you can just go for it. That's what they're going to be looking for here. They're not cresting the ridgeline and actually taking a couple of shots towards their way. Pemburu makes it to the cover of the ground there. Skajovski a little bit out in the open, steps up for Pemburu yet again, but backed off. Federal finally finds Tiger, and that's 2 teams now remaining in it. Influence Chemin finally getting knocks, traded off 1 for 1, but more damage pouring through.
MK14.
And it leaves it only into Pemburu's hands, but he's doing damage. That MK14, as you say, Blank, it's doing so much work. Federal, if he gets felled here, there's a chance, but no, it's not to be. Law puts it in. Everybody from the top rope, and it's Influence Chemin, the Brazilian team, to find the first chicken dinner.
A firecracker finish over towards America's Championships, and then coming to PMGC like this, John, an unbelievable result for them. And again, it's that same patience that we see from a team like MadBulls, long